Hello again. Welcome back to another episode of The Works Live. I'm Jim.
I'm Diane.
Since our, and it's been a while. We took a little trip, and we'll share that with you in a bit. But yeah, following up to our most recent episode, we were sharing toys from our youth, but we also were talking about
the latest up and coming toys.
Exactly, something that supposedly is going to be all the rage. And I did share at the time, and certainly this is homework that yes, we need help. Get if we hit some web experts that helped us with our website or get us better organized. But so we talked about two toys that are going to be the hot things for this year.
Mm-hmm.
One was actually a hot toy last year, but then there's a new thing added to it called Air Tubes, spelled with a Z, and it's like this little hamster.
Like the Zuzu pet type.
Well, yeah,
of thing.
but back in the 70s when you had people where hamsters were
used
the
habitat,
used as hamsters and not what they're necessarily known for. Anyway, so you got the
Lemmy Winks.
Yeah, so you got the tubes, and this is kind of a STEM toy where there's a little device that blows air to push balls through the tubes, and you make just little different.
It's like a marble run on steroids.
Sort of thing. Yeah, you make a little road for these balls that go through tubes. But that was a big toy from last year. Apparently, Air Tubes has now a new mega run. That's the new thing. So anyway, and the one that I was enamored with was called Sticker Box. And unfortunately, this is what happens when you're cheap. I bought the generic version of the Sticker Box.
Well, because it looked like it was the exact same, and I'm not opposed to generics.
Well, we're not opposed to saving money. Here's the problem, though: first of all, the app, I'm not convinced, didn't basically bug our entire house and is listening to
because it came from China.
Oh my Lord! It was the scariest app I've ever seen. All the instructions were truly written in
Chinese
characters, and most of the things that I tried to have it do, well, the poop didn't register. It said inappropriate. Content or something to that
effect. What's wrong with poop? You didn't say shit.
Yeah, well, right.
Pardon my French.
So basically, remember the concept of the toy is you speak, and like AI, it's going to draw
what you give an idea to.
I envision a whole room full of little Asian people listening to every one of these requests, just like Santa does, and then quickly drawing some. It's clever because and again we said we would put these on the web. So we did one, a narwhal holding a hot dog. And, it's a picture of a narwhal holding a hot dog. I did say South Park characters. They kind of look like South Park characters standing at the bus stop.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember.
You did Cartman eating a cheesy poof. And that was actually good.
That looked like Cartman. But anyway, long story short, we need to record this, put it on the web so you can see it. Since obviously as a podcast it doesn't work very well, and I know now I'm not going to. I will.
And it was in black and white.
I will buy the non-generic one, even though and this is a topic for another time. How is it the generic one has more ratings and more reviews than the one that's been around for a couple of years? I'm not saying, you're generic because you stole the idea from the original,
right? Because they bought bots. To
exactly. That's a whole other. So, we will fork over the money to get the real Sticker Box, which the generic.
What do you want to do to me?
The generic one was 42.
Mm-hmm.
The real one's 149.
That's a huge swing.
So, and by the way, Air Tubes cost 149. So that seems to be kind of the entry point for
target.
If you're a decent parent, you're going to spend the 149. So as you can see, I was trying to save $100.
Right.
So it went back, and I will go ahead and get the official picture box. And
well, that's the fun thing about
excuse me.
Amazon is you can send anything back.
Well, that's a whole other topic, but so yeah, we'll get that and put that up on the website. But we took a little break. It's summer. It's been hot. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I hope maybe.
So very hot.
Part of the country or part of the world you're listening in on. And again, we recently just expanded our our reach. We're on a different platform for podcasts. That's part of what we were taking time to try to investigate, and certainly would love any input or help on that. I guess initially when we thought we had a couple of folks on the hook, they probably were just AI people.
Yeah.
Things that were messing with us, saying how, oh my God, you're amazing. But we investigated another platform. So, again, if there's anybody who can help us, that'd be
just
great.
so that we could get better statistics. I mean, not to throw shade at Spotify, but it didn't give us a lot of statistics on people watching from other places other than Spotify, because the RSS feed was on all the other platforms, and they were hard to find.
We had a couple of days 2 weeks ago that we were getting over 1,000 downloads, listens, but it was everywhere but Spotify. And I've tried to make a log into these other platforms just to get the stats to figure out, because we want to know, we want to make sure we're talking to the right
demographic.
I mean, we don't have content that doesn't make any sense to anybody. Of course, I guess reality probably doesn't make sense to anybody anyway. But we are trying to do. Maybe we're trying to do too much. Who knows? I'm enjoying it regardless, and we've talked about a lot of the things that we want to investigate and share with you. And this is kind of like a potpourri episode, because we're trying to get back into that swing of
into the
doing
groove.
things. So yeah, while we were gone for a while. A couple of funny observations I think is worth sharing, or at least a topic that might be interesting to you. That we went to a gaming convention,
the Southeast Game Exchange,
better known as Siege, SEGE, and it's in Greenville, South Carolina. Beautiful place. Again, hella hot. Oh my God, it's hot. And the worst part about, and maybe I don't want to jump too ahead of the story, but so you're in a big convention hall, right? I mean, which is air conditioning, but it's a steel roof. It's a big warehouse type of place.
And
it's a convention
when
hall.
it's empty, it's an okay temperature.
Oh, it's beautiful in the morning, but then you add literally, I mean, tens of thousands. I don't know what the estimate of the actual
attendance was, but
the problem with these gamers, God love them, they don't take a bath. And it's funny because
wash your butt, wash your pits.
We literally heard somebody say that out loud. I mean, I thought
yelling it down the hallway.
Because it's not my inside voice as I would walk by and cover my nose, and I mean, some of the smells were just outrageously bad. And then you add that into the fact that it was 100 degrees outside, and then this place, the air conditioning just couldn't keep up.
Right.
I mean, you have that too many people in there. But again, God love gamers. The whole idea of what Siege is, it's a place for vendors to come who make a living at buying and selling and reselling video games.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I admit this year, it seemed like there was a lot more of the card stuff. There were more
Pokemon
more people dressed up in the Comic-Con sort of, or the cosplay. Excuse me, because Comic-Con was actually this week, if you're listening to us. But there was a lot of the cosplay.
And more pop culture stuff. It wasn't all video games, but
there's wrestling. There's AI art. Mm-hmm. So to your point, it is a video game convention. That's what it's based on, and I was surprised how much we spent. To be honest with you, surprised how much our kids spent at the thing and the items they picked up. But what's neat about it is that it's like going to a swap meet, for lack of a better, or having a bunch of these video game stores all over the place, in one place.
And I think millennials and Gen Z, they're enjoying the retro games. It isn't just about, I want the PlayStation 5 or the Switch 2. They are interested in acquiring all the old gaming consoles and decide that they want to collect an entire genre of games. Say the one people that we follow on YouTube, they decided that they were going to purchase every DS game that there was.
Nintendo 3DS.
And Nintendo 3DS. And so we listened to somebody saying he was trying to acquire all the Zelda games. So instead of collecting coins or whatever previous generations collected, these kids, well, young adults, are buying what they love.
Well, they're projects, truly.
Yes.
But this is where, and again, I'm not trying to be cynical, because certainly you and I are trying to not necessarily be an influencer, but share we're creating content here, because that seems to be the thing these days. Everyone's creating content. No matter what you do, where you go, you're creating content. And part of what is interesting about this convention, which I'm sure many other again, like Comic-Con and GalaxyCon, which was here in Charlotte just this past weekend, but you end up getting these content creators, again, self-created, celebrities in their own mind on social platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And it is neat to see them. It's neat to interact with them. But to your point, their collecting or their projects are truly something that they're using as a content vehicle, or at least, like in our case, it's, if we had a particular genre, which, we've talked about some of these crime show podcasts, that's their thing. That's all they do. You can count on them all the time just to listen to, when you get into, I find that great. We could certainly, and we've talked about a couple of things, especially where we live.
Things that happen here,
our area, our area is famous for the Loomis Fargo heist,
mm-hmm.
and there are a lot of people around us, and we've talked about how we want to interview those folks and
try to get an inside scoop.
Well, and not
if
to mention,
anybody's willing to talk now that the
it's way past its what do they call limitations. The folks that were involved officially did their time, and the angle that I'm after is that they physically took so much money. It took them so long to take the money. They hid it, and there were still unaccounted several million dollars. Several $1 million. Anyway, but you have at Siege, you have an entire population of guests, patrons that, like us, are paying money to come in to basically shop these vendors and see the latest wares and all that stuff. Plus, again, it's neat to see the nostalgia, the old things. But then you're also competing with the content creators.
Oh my God! You couldn't even get up to the tables
because they're monopolizing.
Yeah,
they're basically, again, creating an episode or two of content for YouTube in which the thing is to go get all the Zelda games in 7 minutes across Siege. Can you do it? Can I do it? No, let's go do it. And you're competing against that. And what's even worse, though, is like with our kids, we got them the VIP pass, which meant they get in an hour early before everyone else. And much like these content creators, they were considered their guests. They actually didn't have to pay the $100 to get into the damn thing. On top of the fact that while they're there, they're making content, but they're certainly their side business or side hustle, or call it whichever you will. They're getting all the good shit. That's what bothers me about it.
We were watching a video, and it was to one of the tables we had gone to, and we're like, well, we didn't see those products
because they're all gone. They're all
right because the content.
Retro Rick is already bought up.
Yeah,
they're walking around with their
and it wasn't out on display until the guy says, "Hey, do you have any of this?" He's like, "Oh, I got 10 of them. Oh, I'll buy all 10."
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, they're Game Boys, and so if you're truly in the mood to wheel and deal, which is kind of everyone seems to do it now. I do have a pet peeve about the fact that if they're not doing cash only, and that's amazing to me, is most places are now. Considering the technology that these folks, they're techies, right? Get a little card reader. Yes, they're into Venmo and PayPal, but I personally don't think that that's necessarily the safest thing to do. But it's all cash, and there's no receipts involved in any of this stuff. So, but they're also collecting tax, quote, supposedly, unless you're paying tax, or unless you're paying cash. But anyway, my point is that so if you're willing to wheel and deal with them, you certainly can get a deal. And there's a lot of it's amazing to me growing up, our generation, the 80s kids, we had Pong, then we had the SNE, the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo Entertainment System, then the SNES, Super Nintendo, and Mario, again, it's a classic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all know what a side-scrolling adventure jumpy game is all about.
Right.
And to go there and to see, again, a Nintendo, the original one, in a box, pristine, supposedly, sealed and with the little robot thing and the duck hut gun, and it's
all the different accessories.
It's amazing. So, for example, an Atari 2600, a brand new one in the box was going for like $1,200. They had
Crazy.
a Nintendo. No, again, all of them. The Virtual Boys, which again, you never saw a lot of those, but and then games from everything. I mean, games from all the different countries, and then, like I said, the units themselves, the hardware. Just it's a fun. It's an interesting, sort of eclectic group of people that
Right,
are into video games and
the old
old,
school,
new,
old school, and then. But the other nice thing to see is that some of these gamers, this is their social event of the year. So these are young adults, kids, we call them kids, that might not be social in the regular sense. These are folks that they'd rather spend time online on the weekend playing a video game. And they might seem a little odd to others, but here they are in their element.
It's
and
great.
They are. It's if they would just bathe.
Well, and again, and we're calling out a couple of the stinky ones, but no, it is neat to see. Again, these self-appointed celebrities and content creators, and how they're making a mark in the world themselves by doing what they're doing, and some of these garnering fans, and it's
they had tables set up for voice actors in video games
from all these games.
So the big one was Red Dead Redemption.
Well, that was the theme for the entire show, was Red Dead Redemption.
So these voice actors, I'm doing the air quotes, they are actors, but people are standing in line to talk to them,
which again, I'm envious. Part of it is I would love
to do voiceover
to
work,
do that. To do that stuff, but it's neat to see. It's neat to see how successful this little, I don't say little, but Greenville, South Carolina, isn't the biggest of towns by any stretch of the imagination. But certainly, it's a beautiful place. BMW, and I can't think of of course, there was certainly a lot of textile stuff that used to be there.
Right, downtown Greenville is a foodie metropolis. It's move over Asheville, Greenville is where it's at.
As a matter of fact, we stayed in Greer this time, which is in between So technically, if you're from the area, they actually refer to the area as Greenville, Spartanburg. It's kind of because, and they're like 25, 30 miles apart, but yet they're almost one entity. Like I said, they're not referred to as either Greenville or Spartanburg. It's Greenville, Spartanburg. And in between, there's a little city called Greer, which was gorgeous. I mean, it was completely, you look up gentrified in the dictionary, again, classic, you're going to see a picture of the downtown area. I mean, it was absolutely, the brick streets. And it was cute. It was very, very,
but it's still got a ways to go, but it's still more gentrified than our little hometown here.
So I bring this up because we stayed in an Airbnb as opposed to, we've got some logistic issues with hotels. Long story short, here we have an Airbnb that online the whole family agreed to. Pictures look great. However, and I prepared myself because I looked on Google and it wasn't in the greatest of neighborhoods.
It was in the process of being gentrified.
It was truly the poor side of the tracks, if you will. And there were 8 or 9 of these, I hate to say pop-up, identical-looking buildings, homes, single-family homes, all in a row. Very unique style, whereas the patio outside area was on the second floor, which gave you privacy there because, again, on the second floor, there's a fence around it. Part of it was open, but the other part of it was there's a fence. You could sit outside off of your bedroom. Again, very cute. The backyard, what little postage-sized stamp yard that you got was also fenced in, very, very private, but horrible part of town. These play brand new, and I'm amazed at what I think. I guess growing up, we all were accustomed to the way a house would work. You had a dishwasher, you had a refrigerator, you had a stove. Maybe you got a microwave.
And
But-
glasses are usually the
in a
cabinet
cabinet.
above the dishwasher, and your plates are on the other side of the sink
That-
in a
And
cabinet.
kids, I don't know if it's kids or if it's just because the way this place was produced, or again, there's architect with a blueprint and a floor plan and an idea, and there were no cabinets in the kitchen.
No upper cabinets
In the kitchen,
so they had their
dishes
plate
were in a drawer on the like you bend over to put a dish in
a drawer.
which is crazy. And not to mention the fact that we now live in the green society. So like the refrigerator, for example, my pet peeve was we were in it for 3 nights,
Mm-hmm.
but because it was off, or at least we weren't there when there was another guest sharing the host's, Airbnb the week before, the refrigerator must have been just turned on because it took us 2 days to get the damn refrigerator to actually cool anything.
It was 55 degrees in there for 2 days.
It was truly like a harken back to I was buying ice to put into the ice box, which of course was what a refrigerator used to be, was just a box with ice
Right.
to keep things cold. I was literally buying ice to try to make the refrigerator cold, and which of course the freezer on the bottom part, I still am mystified on who's the idiot that came up with that idea. It literally makes no sense.
No.
Because
the French doors up top and the freezer down below makes
but
no sense.
the way the way that a refrigerator I thought worked is that you've got the compressor on top, which is the freezer, which is the coldest part, and cold air does what?
Sinks.
Thank you. Okay, so it's absolutely nuts. And this idea of this air conditioning thing that really isn't an air conditioner, I don't understand that concept at all. Here in the South, we typically have an AC unit for upper and lower because, again, the heat.
Because it's 100 degrees.
So they have these ventless single fan. It's almost like a radiator that's hung, and it's obviously got a compressor or something to create coldness, but it doesn't cool anything down. At least the upstairs had an air conditioner. So
right,
again,
but you weren't allowed to set it
that's
lower than
another
72.
thing. Yeah, and of course everything is monitored, and you read the fine print of your, I don't know, if it wasn't, like I said, for the logistics of hotels have a lot going for them.
Yeah.
And
and the creepy part is the guy that owned the Airbnb, he lived right next door.
Well, we didn't know that. And
I know.
And okay, so then I got on Reddit. I probably shouldn't be doing this because it gets me riled up. And in my opinion, you should share with those that are renting your place that, hey, by the way, I live next door. Not to say that we were up to going to do anything anyway, but it's just, I think, I just happened to notice that that's where he went after he was doing some trimming with cooking shears.
Right when we arrived. It's so he could check us out.
Exactly. Well, and again, I have no problem with that because, well, like the first it's tough. When you got the personality type that you don't like change, and then you go from all your life spending your away time in a hotel that you're used to. Yes, the home is nice. It's all the amenities of, you got space, even though that's a funny thing too, is the place wasn't very big. It by standards, again, it's a very comfortable home. But in each bedroom, there was no place to put your clothes.
Yeah. In the primary bedroom, it had a closet, so nothing like putting socks and underwear on a mesh shelf. What? Oh,
and then you and my son come boasting that you found a bidet in the toilet.
It was just a sprayer.
It was a garden hose attached to the toilet, and y'all were enamored with the fact that we had a bidet. And I'm doing the logistics. How in the hell are you going to clean your ass with an actual spray nozzle that's attached to the side?
Right. I wasn't going to use it.
Well, no, I understand it. But y'all presented it like it was a freaking bidet.
I know.
But
maybe it's for those that do cloth diapers, because remember, you got to spray the shit off of them.
Right. Well, I looked up what it was, and in a lot of cases, if you're caring for somebody that maybe uses a bedpan, that's what the spray thing, that's what the hose is for, so that you can dump it in the...
Gotcha.
Yes, and yes, to your point, you can... But, I mean, for the first night and a half, I'm trying to logistically think, well, cool, I'd like to try that. How am I going to back my ass over the toilet while using a spray nozzle that's outside the toilet,
Right.
and to get it in the toilet.
Right.
It
I
just
didn't
wasn't
think
going to
it
work
through.
because it
I was
wasn't
just
truly.
excited to
The
see.
bidet water comes up from inside the bowl.
Inside.
This was a
Right.
garden hose attached to the side.
It wasn't a garden hose, but
it
it
was
a
pretty
hose.
much the same thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that was our experience in South Carolina at the Southeast Game Exchange. It was because it was hella hot. We ourselves, like I said, I was surprised at how much we ended up spending. The very last day, second or first day, I noticed that somebody was selling Nintendo Switches for $4.25.
Switch 2s.
Switch 2, excuse me. Yeah. And that is simply amazing because retail is finally down to $500. They were $550 for a while. They've been as high as $600. And, and of course, when I reported this back to my family, they said I was stupid and wrong, but there's no way that anyone's selling a Switch for $4.25.
Until we found the video. Yeah.
Well, until I went back and proved that.
Yeah.
Hey, look, and we bought 2 of them. So, yeah, that was and then my kid bought a Seaman, Seaman, Seaman. Of course, he chuckled over the name, but it's a Sega Dreamcast title that's very rare. It's expensive, and he got a decent deal on it. And of course, I come to find out why. The critical component in it requires a microphone and an adapter for the microphone because those were not a common thing for a
video game,
for the Sega Dreamcast. So I ended up spending another $60 on the adapter so that I can actually play the game.
So it wasn't really a good deal.
Then I need to get a microphone, which again, microphones aren't a big thing, but yeah, so that was cute. And I think our daughter spent like $500 or $600 on
she was saving her money.
Anime stuff. I mean,
she saved money all year because this is her Super Bowl. This is
This
everything.
is her Christmas.
Yes, this is her Christmas. This is, and would walk around for 8 hours looking at everything. Now, somebody that gets overstimulated easily, that when they're in their element, I don't know. I walked around for a couple hours. I'm like, yep, okay.
Well, but you also
I didn't grow up.
You're a closet gamer. You're not really into it, but you have to admit the sights, the smells, but the sights. It's an interesting.
Well, yeah, I enjoyed looking at it, all the retro stuff. I don't know the prices of anything or how rare anything is. It was still fun to look. Now, it was interesting, about the smells. Our daughter was crouched down because a lot of these vendors have bins below the tables that you can ruffle through, something for $5. And as she's down there, a grown adult man standing next to her, cracks went out, farts, right by her face. And I was like, did you stand up and say, what the hell, dude? She's like, no, I think he was on the spectrum. I'm like, oh, for that behavior, no. You need to learn. You don't fart in people's face.
But isn't that interesting, though, that this generation accepts that type of behavior, whereas in our world, the kid that would fart in class, one you'd laugh at, but he was gross.
Yeah.
But we just say they're on the spectrum and it's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so while we're away, one of the things we like to try to do is, get the kids out of the room, watch a family movie. I've been on this kick where making them watch, some of the classics.
Right, before everything was CGI. If there was a car chase, it was actually a car chase.
So, yeah, as a matter of fact, there's an upcoming Netflix series documentary on Knight Rider, which also talks about stunts, in particular, Knight Rider.
Because they're coming out with the new Knight Rider.
Apparently, but the point of the documentary is the amount of, think about the danger and the expense of every car that they jumped. They had to, it was real. They were jumping.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a preview now on YouTube for this Netflix documentary. It's and they have basically all these stunt people now talking about, all the dangerous things they did with explosions and jumping of cars, not just from Knight Rider, but Dukes of Hazzard and all the other shows from the 70s and 80s. But I guess what's funny is watching them now. You see a video of them in high def, wrinkles and all, and then it'll flash back to an image of them in the show from the 70s and 80s, and it's like, oh my God, we've aged just tremendous. But, it's also done us a disservice that things are in high definition now. Back in the day, you could look decent on television because the resolution wasn't so great.
Right.
No matter what. But, oh my God, the amount of
work that some of these people have that they don't look anything like.
Or the extreme. I was going to say the extreme is that you have women who look younger than they did
back then,
but incredibly fake and plastic. I mean, they're truly turned into Barbie. It's. But yeah. So how to say bring culture, but in a desire to have something to talk about. It's nice to be able to share with new friends or anybody for that matter. You talk about or see movies that have they influence you. Even tell me content influences you, I guess is my point. So I've been forcing everyone to
watch movies,
to watch older movies, and I mean, and again, we're doing some of the classics, and it's kind of neat that they redid Naked Gun. They did it. Liam Neeson did a phenomenal job. It was Pam Anderson. It's hard to watch her, considering how, if you will, she's the opposite. She's got no work done. As a matter of fact, and
not wearing any
makeup.
Yeah.
So she's gone from what was the bubble-headed bleach blonde.
Well, she's
cliche.
tired of being the tart. She wants to be a real person now.
Okay, and she pulls that off, I guess. But it's So one of the movies I made us all watch. And of course, it's highly quoted. One of classics, Smokey and the Bandit. And I had no idea because we watched Smokey and the Bandit. I mean, as a kid, how many times have you seen it on Sunday night movies? Of course, then they cut out all the good parts. But I had, it dawned on me. I was sitting there, and the premise of the show, right, is that they're supposed to go get, and they called it bootlegging at the time. They were supposed to get Coors, which was
Coors Banquet.
No, well, that's today's world. Because so technically, and I was going to get into that, but so Big Enos Burdette and his kid, Paul Williams, the little guy. Now it's cute because one guy's like 9 foot tall and the other guy's like 5, but their characters were interested in throwing a big party, and since Daddy was thirsty, he wanted some Coors.
Right, which you couldn't get east of the Mississippi. Which
the premise of the movie was, let's race, and this is where then the Cannonball Run and all that racing the car stuff came from this. And I'm sitting here thinking, could that have been real? And technically, I found out, and maybe you knew this or not, but because Coors was only brewed where? In Colorado, and Coors, like most beers, are not pasteurized, that it is, I don't say the word illegal. It was illegal to transport alcohol across state lines unless you were licensed to do so. But it was also logistically impossible because, and this is why Coors
wasn't stable.
Coors was not available anywhere because there were nobody bottling it like Budweiser. Anheuser-Busch has plants all over the place.
Right.
So that's why you could get, Bud Light and all these, Stroh's and all the Anheuser-Busch beers anywhere, because there are plants everywhere that's making it. But Coors was in one place. And let me look at my notes. Technically, back in the 70s, again, no one east of the Mississippi was licensed to make it. 1986, they finally were able to produce it so that all states had it. And then that's where you had Coors Banquet and then regular Coors. The Coors Banquet being the one that was pasteurized, it had higher alcohol content. I had no idea that whole movie, the concept of bootlegging Coors, was actually a real
thing.
Yeah. You couldn't get it. Now, of course, it wasn't presented that way in the story. It was just to have fun racing cars.
Right. Well, and we knew you couldn't get Coors east of the Mississippi, and it was a big deal but we didn't know why. Because I recall in 86, 87, when we could finally get Coors Light, that everybody was so excited. Yeah, we get Coors.
Well, the silver. So that reminded me of, I guess you call them euphemisms, like, beer euphemism. I guess, and to me, I guess euphemism is like a turn of phrase. So like, instead of saying someone's fat, you say they're vertically challenged.
No, they're short. They're vertically challenged.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was just mixing up my euphemism. Yeah, what's the fat one? I'd written down my ad lib and I can't find it now. But beer euphemisms. It made me think of that with Coors because
it was the silver bullet was Silver Light, or was the Coors Light was the silver bullet.
But that was their advertising slogan, right? But we as kids, when we weren't supposed to be drinking beer, had our own euphemisms for some of these labels, like Old Blow Chunkies.
Oh, instead of Old Milwaukee?
Those Old Blow Chunkies.
Yeah.
You don't remember that?
Mm-mm.
And of course, with Coors, what I remember is "To hell with the mountains, show me your bush."
Oh.
You don't remember that?
No.
Instead of Bush beer,
yeah,
which of course was all about mountain spring water and "To hell with the mountains, show me your bush." That was the slang. Okay,
that was fun.
That's what made me think of that. And so yeah, going back to the kids, and I think kind of segueing this back to some conclusion in today's episode is that I finally, for the first time, have started to hear in the media the conversation around, and our kids are truly the quintessential poster kids for what they're now calling the lost generation, the COVID generation. Those kids that during the pandemic, at the height of their social development,
right, they had to stay at home.
Were locked down. And so they're now starting to refer to these kids as the so-called lost generation.
Yeah,
because
I can see that.
Instead of having that social interaction,
yeah, it's all online.
It was all, and so again, trying to put a bow on this again is interesting why these events like Siege are so popular with kids, and that content creators, as a matter of fact, I think more people were at that to see the content creators, to see the actors, to see the people that they interact with, if you will, online, than to go talk to any vendor about a video game that they're trying to sell.
Right, to me, that's a little nerve-wracking.
Well, you're interjecting a social engagement that isn't online, whereas I think these events are starting to turn into, you're starting to see how, again, kids are taking over, it's their turn. And like I said, if you will, this year's event, that if it wasn't for, I guess Scott the Woz is a big one on YouTube.
Yeah.
And our daughter likes him because he's he likes similar comedies. I've started to watch some of his content. It's cute, but it's truly all about video games.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it is. They'll sit there, and there's if you notice the picture she got with Scott the Woz,
multiple people,
right? Because there are multiple players in Scott the Woz's shtick, if you will.
Okay.
So there are a lot, and they'll be sitting around talking about, for example, one that I had recently seen was they were talking about how board games were ported to video games. So to play Monopoly on a video game, how stupid it is. And in a way, I kind of appreciate the angle of, hey, why would you take a perfectly good game that you have the social interaction of sitting around, interacting with people, having fun, a common goal. Here's Monopoly. Here's
talking to each other. Yeah.
Whereas now you've written code and stuck it on a video game. Why would you do that?
Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? And Sebastian Maniscalco reference, if anybody. But so he was making fun of that. But at the same time, his two cohorts, they were sitting in what I think was their living room on a pit couch with a video console. And one of them, I guess, and I have to do a little more research, is famous for putting mustard on stuff. So he ended up getting frustrated, put mustard on the console because I know. Anyway, I give these kids a lot of credit because these content providers are, the producers, the writers, the creators, the stars of their own content, and they're out pressing the flesh. They're doing the legwork, meeting their fans. The line that some of these, self-appointed, actors, self-appointed celebrities, if you will, had lines that were tremendously hours just to get up and
talk to them.
And every one that stood in line waiting to meet the person or the people, they were greeted. They spent time with them, and
they're talking to each other in line.
Yeah.
About a shared passion.
Which is neat.
It was really neat.
It's neat to see that, and so, it is sad that. And again, we struggle with it because I couldn't imagine not having, I kind of wish I didn't have prom, but in retrospect, can you imagine not being able to go to a prom, your junior, senior year, or walking at graduation, or better yet, senior skip day, senior prank day,
right?
Senior tell your parents you're going to school, but you're going to Kings Island day. I mean, all these things that revolved around social interaction,
right?
They
missed.
They had no opportunity for, none. But, and again, and I guess I thank technology for the fact that it gave them an outlet.
Right, they could still connect online.
And it's interesting because I think now, and I, not to juxtapose, put it back on me, is that being part of that recent, here's a group of folks that are getting laid off because of AI. A lot of it also has to do with the fact that once we figured out that we could work remotely, nobody wanted to go back in the office. As a matter of fact, there was no reason to go back in the office.
Right.
As a matter of fact, you were more productive
at
technically,
home.
But they didn't, at the time, corporations were happy to point out that they were more productive because you didn't have somebody stressing out spending 2 hours in a frickin' commute one way or both ways, depending on whatever town you live in, that you're actually working.
Right.
You're actually pulling 40 hours at least.
And then they realized the middle management didn't have a job to do.
Well, that's the problem, is that you had nobody that was paid the high six figures to sit around and, where's that TPC report? Those sons of bitches who had no talent were the ones that got upset and started making people come back in the office.
Right.
But technology proves that you have a keyboard and a monitor, you don't need to. And I guess, having the outlet that we do, whether it's socially, like you and I, having the opportunity to spend time, I don't say sharing an experience with those that are listening that are interested. And then we certainly appreciate any feedback or comments. And it is nice. It's nice to have the ability to pick up the type of content that you're looking for, that interests you, because there's so much of it out there. Unlike, in the Knight Rider days and Dukes of Hazzard, you only had 15, 20 shows to watch on television, and God knows if you didn't go to the Blockbuster or the local mom and pop video store. Or what about those places that had that special back room with the curtain?
Oh, yeah, for the naughties.
But, technology has changed a lot of things, and it's given us, in a way, it's a social outlet. I just wonder, though, because there's not immediate feedback. Unlike talking to a person for real, seeing a reaction, getting a visceral response.
You need that. You do.
Well,
and I think that's why.
Do you, or is it better because that way I don't feel rejected instantly, thinking I'm spouting something truly from passion from my and of course being defeated later if you hear or read a bad comment. But I guess there are more there are more pros and cons to having the technology, I think, and then especially
you
if
don't
it wasn't
learn
for
to
this lost
handle
generation.
Disappointment. But I think the pendulum is turning a little bit, that there's now the latest trend that you need to put down your phones. You check your phones at a restaurant, that they're doing silent happy hours, not silent, but, and then they have these bars that are non-alcoholic because these kids, they're not drinking, but they still want to be social.
And why would you make a beverage, and why did it all of us see this board of mine has just got a mind of its own? I didn't change the reverb. I didn't change anything. It took us 20 minutes to get the show working because the damn audio board that I had didn't want to turn on. Anyway, I don't know why the reverb just kicked in. This again, proof that we're live recording. Anyway, so this trend to your point about non-alcoholic, why would you make a beverage that tastes like beer, that tastes nasty to begin with?
Right.
I mean, if I had my choice of it, if there was an alcoholic chocolate milk that tastes great, holy Christ. Root beer with alcohol in it. I mean, yes, they've attempted those types of things, but, they've got, I saw the latest and I about choked when that Jamiroquai, 30th anniversary of the Jamiroquai Virtual Insanity song, which is great.
And video. Right.
And video. 30
It's for
years.
Non-alcoholic
It's for
beef.
non-alcoholic beef eaters.
Yeah.
Why would you want to drink a pine tree without having some other
I don't know.
effect that
You can
it
just
tastes like shit?
You can put a soda in a glass and be social that way with the soda. I don't know.
I don't get.
I don't know. Did you hear that in New York City they're having album listening sessions
Oh, God.
where people listen to both sides of an album? They just beginning to end.
Yeah. That's exciting.
And that's a thing.
Yeah. That's what I used to do in college radio days is you put one side on. The first hour, when we worked overnight, you'd put any album on the first hour, just let it track, and then you go, okay, it's time for side B.
Which was always the funky side, the non-popular.
Yeah.
Not as popular, but so I think, technology has its place, and I'm glad to see that some are trying to make more of an effort for in person.
Well, I guess that would be a fun one to go deep into the audiophile's brain about why would an analog album sound better? Because most people argue that an album sounds better than digitally reproduced audio. Because again, let's face it, audio is a physical thing. It's
right.
a wave movement. It's
It's a 0 or a 1. There's nothing in between.
It's not. That's the problem. Is from a digital perspective, it's not. There's yes, unfortunately, with albums, you get the bumps, cracks, whistles, and tweets that
Right.
the dust on an album won't be picked up by the needle. Anyway, that kind of brings us to point where we say, hey, we appreciate you. As always, it helps us tremendously. Any comments, drop us a line.
And
Jim
don't forget
or Diane, or you can put down shithead at theworkspodcast.com. And I challenge you to come up with the best name you can. Just put whatever name at theworkspodcast.com, and we will get the email.
Yeah.
Because that's the way technology works.
It does. It does. And don't forget to like and subscribe. That way.
I'd love an email from shithead, to @shithead. That would be great. If somebody could address that to me.
That would be fun. Yeah. Now I got a goal for myself secretly.
Okay. There you go. Well, until next time, we appreciate it. This is Jim.
I'm Diane.
And this has been another episode of The Works Live.